I am very happy about a freaking treats only grocery trip.
You're not shredded, and you should be by now. Coach Greg, in today's video, the diet is over. Sam Sulek is carbing up, and we're going to go through exactly what he's eating, the fact that he said that he's holding water, what he's going to do to get rid of it. Let's get right into it.
Crunch time was 2 months ago. Now is just more end game kind of situation. Like if I wasn't ready now,
And so if Sam wasn't ready now, he wouldn't be ready now. It sounds like a Gregism, but it's actually true. If you're not ready a couple days from the show, there is no fixing it. You're either shredded or you're not. Now, sure, he could do 5 to 10 hours of cardio today, 5 to 10 hours of cardio tomorrow if he had to, but the result wouldn't be as good as if he was already in shape. You can't eat your way out of being fat. If you're holding water, you can, of course, take diuretics and so on. But if you're not shredded, you're not shredded, and you should be by now. At this point, what he needs to do is add in sugar, simple carbs, and so on in order to bring in the fullness. And to do that, you may be surprised. You're probably thinking he's eating chicken, broccoli, and rice, or that he's going to be eating some peanut butter, but it's nothing like that. He's going to be eating mostly candies, rice cakes, and treats, and so you perhaps are surprised. Many people think that it's following the show that you get to eat all these desserts, candies, and so on, but it's literally in the days leading up.
Essentially as carbed up and full as possible without looking like trash.
And so those of you who haven't seen competitions before, perhaps you've never competed, you often see people saying you're going to carb up on burgers and fries, pizza, and so on. This is not really the way to do it. What allows your muscles to fill up is carbohydrates. It's not fats, and it certainly isn't protein. And so leading up to the show, when you're in the last couple of days, what you do is you dramatically lower your protein. Protein is not going to help your muscles fill up, and neither is fat. And so if you're eating a bunch of fats, peanut butter, and loading up on proteins, more chicken, more steak, that is going to do nothing. And so the main source of fuel that is going to build up your muscle glycogen is, in fact, carbohydrates.
So from 6 o'clock onward until tomorrow morning at 10, no water, no nothing.
And so what he's doing right now is he's water loading. This is one of the worst parts of prep. You might be thinking, well, this is very easy. He's going to drink 12 liters of water in a single day. He's going to be going to the bathroom every 20 minutes. He's going to feel lightheaded. He's going to feel weird. And so essentially what he's experiencing is hyperhydration. This is where you take in way more water than you're used to. It can literally make you feel drunk, a little woozy, and it's not a fun experience. But what's going to happen is it's going to cause his body to excrete extra water. And so the little bit of water under the skin that you're holding on a day-to-day basis, your body is thinking, he's drinking so much water. And so as the body is getting in a continuous supply of water, way more water than normal, it begins to pee even faster, even more. And so your body loses even more fluids, causing the dehydration, and you get to see the extra striations of the muscle sitting underneath. He then suddenly cuts out all of the water at 6 p.m., doesn't consume anything overnight. During the night, his body's going to continue to pee, and the next day he's going to wake up lighter and more dehydrated than he has been in the entire year. The reason for this is twofold. A, he wants to be shredded. He needs to get the striations. And the second reason is he needs to make the weight class. For being just over 5'11", he has to weigh a maximum of 227 pounds. If he weighs 227.5 pounds, he's out of the competition. He can't compete. And so he wants to ensure he makes weight. That is imperative. Once he's under that weight cap, he can then begin to carb up. But he's not going to carb up with a bunch of water because he has to stay under the 227 pounds until he actually weighs in. Now, following the weigh-in, once the official weigh-in is done, he can then consume some extra liquids. But he has to be careful. If he simply drank, for example, 4 liters of water and consumed a bunch of carbohydrates, what could happen is what many people experience, which is known as is spilling over. When you spill over, what it means is your body is holding on to too many carbs and too much water. What once was a shredded and flat looking physique now is very, very full, but there becomes a film of water, in particular on the abdominals, the lower back, hamstrings, and so on. And so you don't look quite as sharp as you should be. When you compete, people should be using the words, Sam looked dry. Dry means he looks dehydrated, as if there's no water underneath his skin. This is what he's looking for. And so he has to be careful. And so on average, for every gram of carbohydrate that he consumes, he can consume approximately 3 grams of water. And the reason for that is he requires that much water to form muscle glycogen. Inside the muscle, the carbohydrates are going to suck into the water and form glycogen. Perhaps before carbing up, he might have 19-inch biceps, but after carbing up, he might actually have 20. Especially combined with the pump. Backstage, he's already doing a ton of bicep curls, push-ups, shoulder presses, and so on, in particular, pumping up the upper body. Being careful not to pump up the legs, because the more pumped your legs get, the less striations you can see. And so, trust me, it is a science. If you don't know exactly what you're doing, for example, you don't have a coach like Coach Greg telling you exactly what you need to be doing. You might eat the wrong foods. For example, you might think you should be eating chicken, broccoli, and rice. You might be carbing up on peanut butter when you should be carbing up on carbs. Now, because I've already watched the video, I know that Sam knows what he's doing. He's coaching himself, but he's clearly learned from watching YouTube videos, perhaps asking other coaches. And so he knows what he's doing. And so despite the fact he doesn't have a coach, well, that isn't actually true. He is his own coach, and he is very good at what he's doing. And so if Sam were to ever start a business where he was coaching other competitors, I believe he would be perhaps making millions of dollars, because he knows what he's doing. He has a large following, and who wouldn't want to be coached by Sam?
I don't have to sweat in a sauna or lose 7 pounds the morning of weigh-ins like I did last time.
If you want to read between the lines, what Sam just said is last year he had to dehydrate 7 extra pounds in a sauna in order to make weight. This year, he doesn't need to do that. And so what he's telling us is he hasn't put on 10 pounds of muscle. If he had put on 10 pounds of muscle, that would mean he would have to now lose 7 extra pounds to make weight. He doesn't have to lose any of those pounds. And so what we know is he hasn't gained more than 3 pounds of muscle since last year. And so if you're good at reading between the lines, you'll realize that that means Sam has even more muscle that he can put on. If you want to be as big as humanly possible in this competition, in particular in classic physique, you shouldn't be anywhere near your weight cap prior to competing. Sam, we know 5 or 6 weeks from the competition, he was already under the weight cap of 227 pounds. And we know since that time, considering he's doing about 10 hours of bicycle riding cardio each and every week, that he's continuing to get even leaner. And so what we do know is that Sam, no matter how big he looks, he still could put on at least 7 more pounds of muscle by next year. With that extra size, he could do even better. Some competitors are better at maximizing their weight class than others. And so Sam, he can only put on so much size, but if he understands how to rehydrate and recarb up following his depletion, he could put on significantly more pounds for next year. And so whether Sam finishes as high as perhaps 7th, I could imagine that is the best he could finish in this competition, or perhaps as low as 10th. I believe he will finish somewhere between 7th and 10th place, depending on his competition. But imagine if he puts on 7 to 10 more pounds of muscle by next year, he could easily jump up into the top 5.
I may not end up eating all of these.
And so Sam is grabbing 5 bags of rice cakes. He's choosing the lowest ones in fat. He avoided the chocolate rice cakes for the minimal amounts of fat. Frankly, it wouldn't have made that big a difference, but Sam does what Chad wants.
I'm really trying to leverage just the carb side of things, so I think we'll put this right over here. But I'm not going to be eating these rice cakes plain.
And so he's choosing rice cakes because primarily they're carbs, they're low in fat, and clearly they're low in protein. And not only is he going to be consuming these rice cakes, he's going to be adding jam on top of it. Jam is loaded in sugar. And so if you're in the off season and you're trying to bulk up and you consume rice cakes with jam, that is a lot of calories. And so if you're not trying to bulk up and you're trying to diet, avoid the jam at all costs. Now, if you do want to consume jam, of course you would choose the sugar-free or no sugar added, as there are lower calorie jams. This is included if you're trying to have peanut butter and jam sandwiches. Of course, if you're a dieter, you're not going to eat regular peanut butter and jam sandwiches. You're going to have peanut butter and low-calorie jam sandwiches. Like in my cookbook, you can make the peanut butter 4 times higher in protein with 4 times less calories. And so what does that mean? It means you can have 4 times as much. And so rather than spreading on a tablespoon or 2, you can literally eat an entire bowl. And so look for various recipes such as this in my cookbook and thank me later. Remember, it's about eating low-calorie, delicious recipes that have tons of protein and or fiber in order to keep you satiated and healthy. And on top of that, if you're trying to cut your cravings, you can get GLP Max, or you can go to AlgoRx and purchase various GLPs, testosterone and clomiphene, Cialis, glutathione, the list goes on and on. And remember, whether you're getting supplements like the Blue Lobster pre-workout or the GLP Max G-Test or turkesterone, the various Turks, we got all different kinds. Use code Greg to save yourself money at HLT Supplements or AlgoRx. Back to the video.
This is what I'm looking for. Cereal, peanut butter, and jellies.
And so notice, peanut butter, not so much. I don't know how many bikini competitors, bodybuilders, or anyone, they're always adding peanut butter on their rice cakes. And I'm thinking, should I tell them? Should I tell them that their coach doesn't actually know what they're doing? And I'm thinking, nah, why would I interrupt? They've paid that coach to tell them misinformation. And so I'm not going to tell them that they wasted their money on a coach that doesn't know what they're doing. And so I let them do what they're doing. Now, if you're watching my channel, I can tell you that those coaches do not know what they're doing. They're copying other coaches who just see them eating rice cakes and peanut butter and thinking, yeah, that's what you should be doing. Why would you do that? You're adding in some extra fats for what purpose? You think that the fats are adding glycogen to your muscle? Literally, I've seen people fat load. Before the show, they'll be drinking oil. I don't make this shit up. They're drinking oil and they're eating steaks and thinking that that is somehow going to fill up their muscles. And I'm thinking, with the fat? They're like, no, but you need to have a cheesecake because of all the fats. It's going to fill up the muscle. And I'm thinking, you realize that the fat is doing nothing and it's the sugar in the cheesecake that's filling up your muscles. But I digress. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to tell these people that I know more than them, that they're idiots? No, I don't say that. I just nod and I'm saying, yeah, okay, enjoy that. And we keep on doing what we're doing.
Where's the most infamous box of them all? Yeah, this would certainly not upset me to slam.
And so Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I would have said, Sam, put the cereal in the cart. If I were coaching Sam, he literally grabbed the same box. I've consumed that before competition myself. There's nothing wrong with that. This is exactly what you want. You want dry carbs, low in fat. This is it. Cereal. This is perfect. If you were literally sitting there with the box of cereal, you could eat the entire box carbing up and have no problems whatsoever. It could be that. It could be the Frosted Flakes. It could be whatever cereal that you want.
Could I destroy this container of 6 full-size Reese's cups? Yes, but right, don't forget we're leaning carb heavy. Anything kind of chocolatey, peanut buttery, I mean, it's just so high in fat.
And so well put, he doesn't grab the Reese's because he's carbing up, not fattening up. And remember, fat has 9 calories per gram and carbs only have 4. And so why would he bother carbing up on fats when that kind of defeats the purpose?
Today is not the day for any of this. The rest of today is actually a lighter calorie day to kind of, deplete and almost, let's just say, empty the tank before really filling it up.
And so Sam, he's completely cutting out water, food, everything at 6 p.m. and he's weighing in the next day at 10 in the morning. And so that gives him 16 hours to make the weight class. Now, if he was significantly above the weight class, he would have to cut that water out even sooner, perhaps at noon. He could also add in a diuretic before going to bed, or perhaps wake up very early in the morning and maybe use a sauna, do some cardio, whatever. But he doesn't need to do that. And so it's a fairly easy process as he's very close to the weight cap already. He's going to start carbing up at 10 a.m. on basic, simple carbs. And he can probably also consume approximately 3 liters of water. Now, that may sound like a lot, but when you're completely dehydrated, when he wakes up tomorrow, he's going to be bone dry. can likely consume approximately 3 liters of water to go with 1,000 grams of carbs. But from 10 o'clock until 10 in the evening, that is a long time. And remember, he'll probably continue to pee a little bit. And so I'm certain he's going to be checking the mirror, checking the scale to make sure that he's consuming what he should be. Bodybuilding, it's not just a science, it's more of an art. You have to look in the mirror, eat, consume some liquids, and make sure that you're not spilling over, but that you are in fact consuming enough. And remember, when you go to bed, if you sleep for 8 hours, you're probably going to lose a few pounds overnight. And so it's very important to be checking yourself out in the mirror, making sure that you're doing what you should be doing.
I'm going to end up waking up Friday morning feeling like a beast, carved up, veined out of my mind, tan, and then just ready to step on stage.
Once he wakes up Friday morning, carbed up, swollen, everything is in order. At this point, he can then add the peanut butter. He could then add the chocolates, the Reese's, and so on, because what's then the only important thing, especially in classic physique, is that you don't appear bloated. And so Friday's going to be competing around noon. And so what he doesn't want to do is wake up and eat a burger and have it sitting in his stomach. But if he were to eat, for example, Reese cups, or I like to eat Kit Kat bars, that is very, very small. Imagine you eat a 100-gram chocolate bar. That is not going to be visible in your stomach. And so the calories don't matter. Think of it like this. If he consumes 3,000 calories, but it's only the size of my fist, it's very, very small. But if he were to wake up and drink, for example, 2 liters of water with no calories whatsoever, that would enter his stomach. And at that point, he could, in fact, spill over. He could retain water. And so you have to be extremely careful on the day of the competition not to consume anything that makes you bloated. And so I would suggest Sam consume something known as simethicone. It's an ingredient in Gas-X. And so as you're consuming foods, especially if you were to eat things like potatoes, things that have more fiber, you're trying to avoid eating fiber. And so I did mention eating cereals, that it doesn't really matter. Well, you wouldn't want to eat a lot of mini wheats if they're high in fiber, because the fiber can make you get bloated. And so you're trying to avoid being bloated. And so please don't eat a bunch of fruits and vegetables the day of or the day before the competition. This is another common mistake that people make. It's not the same diet that you ate for 16 weeks that you're going to be consuming during peak week, especially when carbing up. The Gas-X will continue to allow you to release the gas, fart it out, if you will. And that will allow you to have a flatter stomach than last time, which is imperative when he's blowing out his air and doing the vacuum pose. Very important to have the most tiniest of waists humanly possible. If he continues to eat Kit Kat bars, Reese cups, and so on, during Friday, before prejudging into the evening, it will ensure that he has plenty of energy, he'll feel satisfied, and he won't spill over and have bloating. And that is a recipe for doing your best showing humanly possible. If you're interested in getting coached by myself and my team, whether it's for bodybuilding competitions or just to lose weight and get into the shape of your life, I'm currently taking more applications. And so if you're interested, click the link in the description. Don't forget, if you want to carry HDLT supplements in your store and or gym, or if you want to get sponsored by HDLT, you can click the link and apply. AlgoRx, of course, or HDLT supplements, click the link and use code Greg for saving more money than last time. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algo, as in AlgoRx. Don't forget to watch either of those two bloops. And until next time, I am out.